Okay guys, so today I will be critiquing Pack's White Forest demo spreadsheet. Of course, this is the demo version. I'm not showing anything behind a paywall. I've been following Pack for a while and I like his content, so when I saw he was posting White Forest stuff, I was excited. But Pack, you've entered my domain. So he has three combos here. The first and the third, I don't have much to talk about. The second one, however, which is LZ plus any blank spell or trap, there are some major issues with the sequencing, not an exaggeration. And I want to show you how he does it, why there are issues with the sequencing, and how you can do this better with safer sequencing and also end on bonus resources that he doesn't get to. So first, let's walk through his combo. I'll point out the issues along the way, and then I'll run you through a couple different variations of the way that I'm showing it that I think are better, both in terms of safety and in terms of the resources that you have. Okay, so he starts very basically. LZ obviously has to send the spell or trap to summon itself, and you search for Sylvie, which gives you the tails. And now you have another spell or trap so that when you summon Arciela, you can pitch that and search for your Azamina LZ. The tails will reset itself, and here is where he diverges from the standard play. So let me just get to the standard. Okay, so what he does here is he makes Diabel Queen with the Arciela and the Azamina LZ, which is normal, but he does it without using tails first. Normally, when you play the resource loop in White Forest, you always tails before Diabel, because after you've used both tails effects and it's completely used, you still want to add it back, because in your opponent's turn, when you finally go to use Queen and you pitch your spell or trap, not only do you get back the tails for free, but it's very, very good follow-up, because even if they clear your entire board, you'll always be able to sum out the Sylvie on your own turn on the crackback by shuffling back, your Arciela, your Diabel, whatever, and have the spellcaster on field that is the condition for activating tails. So you always want to have this in part of your resource loop. Anyhow, he chooses to leave tails for now on field. He hasn't used the search effect yet. He makes Diabel with the LZ Azamina and the Arciela. And he is going to be searching off the Azamina LZ for a Wanted immediately, and Wanted is going to be searching for the Black Witch, and Black Witch is pitching the blank spell or trap that he re-added from the grave. So he used this initially, and then he added it back off of Diabel Queen. Okay, so now continuing, the Witch will set Deception. He'll activate Deception, tribute the Witch to search for Hallowed Azamina. I will show you why you should probably be searching for Deception before Wanted and how that's also better for your combo. But anyhow, now you can activate Hallowed, send the Deception, bring out Murcielago, and Murcielago will search for Sinful Spoils of the White Forest. I love this card. I talk about that a lot myself. Here he finally activates Tails and searches for Diabel's the White Witch. Now he will use Hallowed's Grave effect, shuffling Azamina LZ from the grave back into the deck to add Hallowed to hand. So here's the biggest issue. There are a couple different issues, but here's the biggest one. Ignoring the thing about Tails, okay? We'll talk about that later. This card, Diabel's, is the shining star of the show. This is the sweet prince that must be protected at all costs, no matter what. There is no way that in any sequence of White Forest you will ever, if you have the opportunity to insulate Diabel's from interactions, you will summon this before you have that protection. Never. You must have access to this card, usually to get access to Vengeance. And with the cards that we have access here, we do indeed need Diabel's to dump Curse, to add Filius, to give us our Vengeance. So you should never, if you have the ability to protect this card, be summoning this to try to get your Vengeance access before protection. I'll show you how you're supposed to do this afterwards. But let's just continue with the route that he's chosen. So he sets Sinful Spoils of the White Forest, he pitched Sinful Spoils of the White Forest to summon Diabel's, and of course the Sinful Spoils of the White Forest will reset itself. Here in the spreadsheet, he forgets that the Diabel's is supposed to dump the Curse, which adds Filius, and then Filius searches Vengeance. He fixes this at the end, but still, just so you're aware, the Diabel's can't dump Filius to get Vengeance. You have to dump Curse, which adds Filius, and then Filius gives you the Vengeance. Okay, so now he activates the Hallowed Azamina, and he sends Vengeance. Vengeance is the TCG name for Sin Adjudicator. And of course, this is free because you can summon this from either the hand or grave, so it doesn't matter where it is. So he's using Hallowed to send the Vengeance for free so that he can now summon the Ilia Sylvia. So there are a couple different issues here. First of all, you're bringing out the Ilia Sylvia after the Vengeance play was made. And if you're trying to play around something like Nib Imperm, which is what this appears to be, because you'll see in a moment he goes to make a Little Knight, your opponent, if they actually know what they're doing and they have Nib Imperm, they will never wait for you to go end of main if you played this way. If you've played this way, first of all, they're going to stop Diabel's the White Witch, and they can Nib whenever they feel like, because What you could have done is you could have made the SP way earlier, because the Sylvie never used its Grave effect to bring itself out by shuffling the Arciela back into the deck. And as you'll see in this combo, he never does that, so it's not like it was being used for something else. So before even making Ilia Sylvia, or whenever, if you were sequencing differently, you could have shuffled back Arciela, brought out Sylvie, Sylvie and Murcielago go into Little Knight, so you would have the Little Knight and the Diabelle, and you make the Ilia Sylvia. And only after all of that does our shining golden child Diabelle's dream of hitting the field and setting up the Vengeance play. So now he turns the Murcielago and the Diabelles into the Little Knight, and then he brings out the Vengeance by banishing the Curse and the Filius, and then Filius, when it's banished, can boost your Diabelle's monsters by 500 attack, and I believe this is the end of the replay. So he shows that the Deception resets itself in the end phase, and you have the Sinful Spoils of the White Forest set. So his end board is Little Knight, Diabelle, Azamina, Ilia Sylvia, and Vengeance. So now let me show you a couple different ways that you can sequence this. First of all, if you want to do the most efficient, like resource-wise play possible while still creating protection for your Diabelles, I'll show you this way, and then I'll show you another way which is slightly less resource efficient, but a little bit more safe. So you start the same way where the Alzette pitches the blank, it searches for the Sylvie gives us the tails, you go into Arciela, pitch the tails, get our Diabelles here, tails resets itself, and now we tails to search for Azamina Alzette. I guess technically it's correct to search for Azamina Alzette first and this tails get the Diabelles, but at this point, you know, we have the same number of cards in hand because Diabelles will need a spell or trap to pitch to summon itself to begin with. But anyhow, we've gotten to this part here. And now the Alzette Azamina will special summon itself. Remember, we've already used Tails. Tails is now in the grave. So when we go Chain Link 1, Chain Link 2, the Azamina Alzette adds our Deception and the Diabelle adds our Tails back to hand. We always want this card as much as possible because of the reasons I explained before. So now you can Deception, but here for free you can shuffle back Arciela to bring Sylvie out by her quick effect in the grave, so that you have a free material to tribute off Deception to get your Hallowed. Now you Hallowed into Murcielago. Murcielago gives you the Wanted, because remember we're doing this the reverse way to pack where the Deception comes first. Now when you shuffle back Azamina Alzette from grave to add your Hallowed back to hand, you have a Wanted in hand. So when you go Hallowed Chain Link 1, Wanted Chain Link 2, that free value he got off of sending Vengeance in hand to use Hallowed and special Vengeance from grave, we have the same free effect here by chaining the Wanted to the Hallowed. So we're not losing anything by doing it this way. So anyhow, we add the Witch here and we summon the Ilia Sylvia. So remember, this card, our Shining Child, has not touched the field yet, and we now have our Omni Negate. I will show you at this point how you can play differently to be even safer and protect even more Diabelle's the White Witch in the next replay. But this one at least brings out your Omni Negate first. Our Black Witch sets the Sinful Spoils of the White Forest, and now we send Sinful Spoils of the White Forest to bring out our Diabelles. So Chain Link 1, Chain Link 2, this resets itself, Diabelles dumps Curse, Curse adds Filius, we activate Filius, we get Vengeance, and now we can turn those into SP. So I'm just copying Pack's end board to show you the difference, okay? And now when you go to the end phase here, so let me compare the two boards, all right? So he has the same monsters. There's Diabelle, Little Knight, Ilia Sylvia, Vengeance. So here we have the Diabelle, Little Knight, Ilia Sylvia, Vengeance. And he also has the Sinful Spoils of the White Forest and the Deception. Here we have Sinful Spoils of the White Forest and Deception. We also have Tails, which is a very big deal. Trust me, this is not a Triff comment. It's actually a big deal because you want to send this for free on your opponent's turn, reset itself, and then have follow-up on the crackback. But also, we had our Omni Negate before we began the Vengeance line. Very big deal. Okay, now let me show you the even safer way to do it that will cost you one more resource. Yeah, we make SP a little bit earlier in my line. So the place that you make SP in my line is different to in his line, obviously, because they're like completely different lines, actually. So here we do the same thing where we are going to use Tails before we make Diabelle, because here when we make Diabelle and we Chain Link 1, Chain Link 2, we add back the Tails, and then our Azamina Alzette gives us Deception of the Sinful Spoils. So activate Deception, and now we can bring out Sylvie for free by shuffling back Arciela in the grave, so we have a free tribute for Deception, and that gives us the Hallowed. So now when you go Hallowed, bring out Murcielago and add Wanted. By the way, if you want to know like in-depth how to play around Nibiru, I have a separate video with lots of detail on if they nib you at any reasonable point, how your board actually looks better if they nib you than if they didn't nib you. And again, that's not a Triff comment, that's like actually true. So yeah, watch. I'll put that link in the description if you actually care about playing around nib properly. Here we will again shuffle back Azamina Alzette from grave, adding the Hallowed Azamina to our hand. We Hallowed Azamina, Chain Link 1, Wanted Chain Link 2, so this is free. We get the Black Witch here. Bring out the Ilia Sylvia, And so here we are bringing the Omni before the Little Knight. And what I'm choosing to do here is I'm going to do the wanted draw. Okay, so I'm going to wanted draw to put back Deception. I didn't show this in the last one. You obviously would have had a draw on top of that if you wanted, or you could have left Deception if you wanted to reset itself. Here, to keep the tails, because tails is so important, I'm going to use my wanted draw. So I'm not going to get Deception reset itself in the end phase, so that I draw a blank. And that blank can be sent to summon the Witch, which gives me Sinful Spoils of the White Forest. Now again, I haven't even summoned our Shining Golden Child yet. Diabells is still in hand, safely clutched tight to my chest. And now we can go into a Little Knight with our Murcielago and our Witch. So we have Diabell, we have Ilya Sylvia, and we have Little Knight on field here. So now you can send Sinful Spoils of the White Forest to summon Diabells. Diabells can dump the Curse. So of course, we reset our Sinful Spoils of the White Forest. Curse gives us the Filius, and Filius can give us the Vengeance. So now when you summon these cards, if we compare the end board again, it's very similar, except you don't have the Deception reset, which is not a very important card, at least if you're comparing it to having tails. Like, you would always rather have tails as your send because you're getting back the tails and its follow-up. But if you send the Deception, you're not getting it back because it has to be face up when it's sent to reset itself in the end phase. So yeah, again, safer, even more safe than the first one I showed you. And this also goes for Little Knight. Last thing that I'll show you, so this video isn't too long. How long is this video? 11 minutes. Okay, really, really quick. You can also do this with Fiendsmith stuff. I guess maybe he's going for a Little Knight. Again, I'm only guessing just because it's like a Nib Imperm Nib Veiler type situation. But there is a way to play this where you Dark Lock yourself, but because you go through the field spell, you give yourself additional resources. And then, of course, like Little Knight is dark, so you can't Little Knight the same turn that you resolve the Witches of the White Forest. So here we're doing basically the same line that I'm not going to, slow down for you because you've seen it like 4 times now. But here we're bringing out our Omni Negate, and we're going to activate our Witches here. So we've searched for Witches instead of Diabells, and Witches will give us Diabells. And the reason we're doing that, and it's not just redundant, is because the field spell will be a free send for our Black Witch. So instead of sending the Murcielago, which is a body, we're going to send the field spell, which is used and no longer valuable to us. So this will then set Sinful Spoils of the White Forest. Of course, you can debate what your search target is, but that's what he's playing, so I'm showing this here. You make Moon, Requiem, Lacrima, Dump Engraver. It's worth mentioning here that you can just leave this, like if you're on the Wave Hiking build, you will be locked out of Necroquip Princess, so you cannot make Caesar. But you can just leave this on field so that you have the Paradise play out of turn set up, and you have a Fiend, and you will have multiple illusion monsters on field so that you can summon Sol out of turn with your Sinful Spoils of the White Forest, because this is an illusion and a Fiend. And you're going to have multiple illusions, and you're going to have Lacrima and Vengeance as your Fiend. Or you can just continue with the regular way to go, sequence into Desiree. And then you can finally send your Sinful Spoils of the White Forest, which will reset itself, and then your Diabells will dump Curse, which will give you Filius, and Filius will give you Vengeance. And so now when you summon Vengeance and you go to pass turn here, you get back Deception in the end phase, you have Sinful Spoils set, you've kept your tails, which is huge, and you have multiple illusions. Okay, you have Diabell as an illusion, you have Diabells as an illusion, you have this as a Fiend, you have this as a Fiend. So you could make Guardian Chimera if you have the body in hand. You will get back your LZ out of turn if you, sequence correctly, so you will have the body in hand, but you don't just give up your follow-up for nothing. Or you can make a Sol, after you've used your Desiree, and you can get, the double send off the Sol and the Desiree, or you can send your Vengeance after you've used Vengeance. So I hope that was helpful to you. If you have any comments, critiques, or suggestions, please let me know. I'm very active in the Discord. Shout out to Cyber and Shien, especially for talking and being helpful. And yeah, feel free to subscribe if you want, or don't if you don't want to.